it's time to start. We're going to try to start on time, and I'm a minute late, so Ruth Ann will be chastising me from a distance, I feel certain. Good morning. For those of you who've not been to 1MillionCups before, raise your hand. Anybody's not been here before? Oh, you've been here before. All right. Today we're doing a little different. Scott Laskowki is back, and he is the most innovative person I think I've ever met. I mean, this is his third product that I'm aware of. I'm sure there's more than that out there. And he is going to show us what he's done and why he's done it and how it's going to work for him and for the community and for everything else. So I am very, very pleased to have him back. He has the entire hour today.
Yeah.
You do it.
How many of you were here on the first one? A couple of you. Okay, so.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure. The very first one, yes.
This is going to be a very informal day. There's a lot of interaction. What you're going to see is a startup in the works. When I had the first meeting, we started out with a little story about the elephant. So a few of you may remember that. I don't know. Louis is an elephant at the Toledo Zoo. The Toledo Zoo called us looking for a solution on how to get rid of their elephant manure and the other beddings from the zebras and everything else. And they were looking at a processor that we have where we can dry product and turn it into other usable products, including biochar, which is going to be a central theme of what we're going to talk about today. They wanted to turn their manure into biochar so they could use it to help save the world, so to speak, as a soil amendment. And bottom line is, we ended up getting into this project with them, and I had to start learning a little bit more about what biochar was. And that has taken us on an adventure that's pretty unique, I think. Exciting. I will say, you know, a lot of this is going to, I'm not an expert, okay? I'm learning a lot. But I do have a lot of good boys to play with in this field, so we find ourselves in a place where we get to experiment and promote and educate and come up with new products. So feel free to stop and ask me anytime, any questions, or if you've got comments, that'd be great. So the adventure's just begun for us, but it's got a long ways to go when it comes to this kind of stuff. We are kicking it off this year. The theme of today is we believe the time is right to get back to our roots. It wasn't too long ago that our parents and grandparents, maybe you can remember, they grew their own food. We haven't always had super Walmarts and places to buy this stuff. We grew it, we canned it, it was on the shelves. I remember it. Well, there's a big move today to get back to that, to get away from the kind of food that's being made today. One of the statistics I've heard is only or less than 1% of the people on the planet make the food for everybody else. And a very small percentage of that 1% still garden. Very few left. And what I'm finding out through our research after following up on the manures and all that kind of stuff is very few people know how to garden anymore. I didn't. I'm learning now. And then what I'm finding is it's a lost art, and our grandparents didn't even have the technology to know what they were doing. They just knew that if they put some chicken manure in or some leaves as compost, it worked better. They didn't know why it was working, but today we have a lot of tools available to say, okay, you want a good garden? We know how to do it, but you have to take steps to get there. So, when they make our food today, they typically will do it in mass, large programs where they'll put in chemicals into the ground to force feed plants to pop out of the ground, and they'll get lots of it, but not necessarily the best food. Okay, and there's a lot of arguments which is better, nutrients and all that. And that's all well documented out on the web, but essentially our land these days is on life support. It's either dead or dying. The microbial, the health of the dirt is just not there anymore. And the way they make things grow is they literally go on life support and they throw enough nitrogen or potassium or phosphorus or whatever they need to in the field to trick the plants into coming out of the ground. And they do, it works great. They can throw lots and lots of ammonia type products on there to get the nitrogen, to get it good and leafy and green and all that. Corn needs that. That's how we get so much corn out of it. But it isn't necessarily what we want to eat, and it's certainly not where we're going in the future in terms of what we should eat in terms of health and what nutrients are in it. So to do that, there needs to be fresh technology and education is what we're finding. And Heath came to me with this. And I'm hoping you'll step up and say a few things here in a moment too, because he's a good example of what we're trying to accomplish. I tell you, it's so concerning even to our government that they've come up with a program called EQUIP, E-Q-U-I-P. And I got a couple brochures here, put on by the USDA, the Natural Resources Conservation Service. They are encouraging all of us to go out and put up high tunnels, greenhouses, things like that, to grow our own food. They're so worried about it that they are willing to do it for free. So let me give you an example. It's a process you have to go through. You go in, you sign up, they check your property, they'll actually inspect your property and make sure that you have a place that is viable. Then you go through an approval process, and then at the end of the game, you put the greenhouse up. But part of the process is they got your banking information. You've agreed on how much they're going to pay you. And then when you put the greenhouse up, they come up and say, yes, it's up, and it's to standards. And then they give you a wire transfer in your account to pay for it. Example, I've been doing this, I'm going through the process. The rules are that you get up to, they pay you X amount of dollars, up to $4.30 a square foot, up to 2,178 square feet, is some weird number. Or $10,000 maximum, depending on the size that you're doing. So I'm putting in a 30-foot wide by 96-foot long, 6-foot sidewalls, roll-up sides, nice end walls with doors, dual plastic with blowers and everything else. The Amish people that I've connected with are going to put it in for $10,270 installed. They are going to pay me $10,000 to do it. So I'm getting this greenhouse for $270. And guess who's paying for it? Y'all. So thank you very much. I'm getting a greenhouse.
Can we get the tomatoes?
I will pass out all the tomatoes y'all want.
Just a question.
So anyhow, that's how concerned our government is about what's going on. And I asked them again the other day, I said, why are you doing this? Why would you give me a greenhouse? And it's actually down to security for the country because they're worried about the food source. If we can't eat, all sorts of bad things happen. So they want us feeding ourselves and others. And you can imagine if you could plant thousands and thousands of these, because a 30 by 100 greenhouse, how much food can I make in there? You know, one tomato plant, we all are giving tomatoes away by the end of the summer because we can't do it. But that's their incentive. They want us to grow food. And to do that, then you've got to know how to grow the food. You've got to have the tools to do it. And that's what I'm finding out people don't know how to do, and there's very little available. So I've been on a path to learn all this myself, chasing internet stuff, and then, you know, to play with the toys I've got, actually do something about it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Again, we all started with Louis and his manure. We worked with a processor to make it into something usable, which led us into their ability to make a lot of other things. So I'm going to just show you real quick what the processor looks like. And this is something I did to show somebody else. So forgive the video work, quality and all. Give you an idea of the machinery we're talking about. Go ahead.
Here's your wet dust, chip, got a little bit of shavings in it, but this is fresh off the sawmill.
This was done for a customer in Owensboro.
There's some sawdust that we process in the bedding. There's wood chip from the same place. We can, with our hammer mills, grind it down and turn it into bedding and or fuel, which is what this pile is. This is dried. We use it.
This is how I use my building all years on sawdust. And paper heat.
Here's the output. We'll kind of go backwards here. It's going to get a little noisy. So this is the stuff I showed you right at the beginning. Coming through, I'm deliberately not going 100% dry because I want to make biochar out of this. And I need it to be a little bit wet. But that's probably 20% moisture. And that is, with the current gearboxes I have, that's as fast as it goes. But it's not that we couldn't speed it up, but I don't have any more BTUs. I don't have any more BTUs available to dry more. So here's a quickie on the burner. We ignite with gas, we drop biomass in through, we stir it, gets hot, burns, gases burn off. We measure the temperature here for control. We make hot water through a counterflow system, fan and out. In this case on the burner, I poked a hole here, which is what this is. So then I can use the fan on the back side of my drying system to pull the hot gas from here out before it goes through the water. It goes through here, then it goes into this plenum where both tubes, there's one here, the top one, and the bottom, both of these tubes have hot air being pulled through. Check here in a second, it's probably about 1,000 degrees. The hot water then from the burner that we're getting at 200-ish is being pumped through the jackets around here. So, there's my 200-degree water. The incoming gas is 1,074. I'm running it at 100% throughput, and that 80 that you see is the dwell time setting for the augers, and the blower on the back's running 100%. So hot gas being pulled through here and here. Down to this end, where I use a hammer mill to clean up the product and make it perfect, and that fan right there is pulling the hot gas off of both tubes. The material's coming through here, through the hammer mill, down, and back. If you don't need a hammer mill, we just make that box back there. And then over here, after it comes out that bottom tube, it rolls over to the incline auger, into a second hammer mill, which in this case I don't need, you wouldn't either, and then into another auger going out. There you can see the product. I'll walk around there. We'll step up here and take a look inside here as well. So this is where my raw product is wet, is going, and maybe you'll be able to see a hole in right there. That's where it goes out. To be metered in to the drying system, and then here's the output. In this case, if the product has been through a hammer mill, you still see a little steam coming off there, but it's mostly dry now. As it cools, it's drying even more. There you go.
All right, I can queue up that million cups of oil. So that's the equipment. It's all prototype stuff. You can see it's kind of messy and dirty, but that's where we are with the project. Actually, we're much farther along than that. We've already got some of these in the field. Most notably is one in Malaysia, where they're actually processing spent bedding from the mushroom growing process. And they've had it for over a year now. They just purchased 2 more burners, so they got a total of 5 over there. So that's going quite well for them. So, before I forget, the EQUIP program, even our jail has one. So you'll see what we're talking about can integrate into social programs as well. I think it's actually a very big deal. So more information on that if you want to see it too on the jail, all that program from USDA. So what can be processed? You saw a little bit of it. We process fuel. That's what we were making there, and that's what I've been burning. Several customers around here have been burning for heat this year. Very inexpensive to use. So that's what we use our burners for, is to heat facilities like mine. We can make animal bedding. What you saw there doubles as a bedding, and we can make it out of lots of different kinds of products that aren't traditionally used. So now we're taking, for instance, coarse wood chip that look like, bigger stuff like this, which would traditionally just be used in a boiler somewhere for the cost of hauling it somewhere to get it there. And through our system, we can take it through the hammer mills and dryer and make a perfect animal bedding, the stuff that sells for about $35 a yard out there. So that's a money maker and an opportunity with the equipment. We can make organic fertilizer. I can go buy wet, stinky stuff off the chicken houses, send it through here, and in the process of making it, with all that heat, we sterilize it, and we dry it, and we pulverize it, so it's perfect. I I mean, we get this product right here, here's the chicken version of it, in a form where you can store it indefinitely. It doesn't stink because the moisture's out of the ammonia part of it, so it's tolerable, let's put it that way, very much so. And it can be stored indefinitely because it won't compost anymore. So we dry it, sterilize it, it's ready to just be stored and used at a later date. We can make all sorts of soil amendments. For instance, pine bark is a great organic soil amendment to put in your soil if you want to lower the pH. We're going to get into those kinds of things a little bit. Biochar, which is one of the key ingredients to what kicked all this off, is one of the things we make out the backside. We can make things like colored mulch, just step outside of the other markets and turn these chips, by just reducing the size a little bit and adding color. Now I'm into making $75 a yard type stuff at a retail level. It can be very lucrative. So the machine is designed to do lots and lots of different things. I reached out to be able to allow entrepreneurs for an investment of about $100,000 to get into making all this stuff. So they're fuel suppliers, they're organic product suppliers, they're mulch suppliers, they're who knows what. And beyond that, use the equipment to get rid of a waste product, make process heat like the mushroom people do. So a lot of opportunities we're trying to build into this. Let's see, let's go on to the next screen. What do you have there? There we go. We kind of skipped over one here that was manufacturing waste like the mushroom guys. There's another one that's been interesting because I've had it twice now. It's fish guts. Over here by Land Between the Lakes, there's a processing plant where they want me to mix that with wood to blend the moisture content down, hammer all this stuff up, turn it into an organic landfiller type thing for the gardening people. The fish guts are full of nutrients. So if I were to take fish guts, mix it with pine bark, get the moisture right so I can send it through here, process it back out, I'll have one of the best garden soil amendments you could ever imagine. They get rid of the waste, it becomes a money maker at the other end. Same thing's happening in Hawaii. We put that one video up that you just saw, got calls immediately where they want to get rid of their fish guts. They want to mix it with cardboard because they have a huge problem getting rid of that. So they want to blend the two and then they want to spray it. They want to mix it with grass seed and then spray it for erosion control. So you can get an idea of the entrepreneurial spirit that you can set free when you give people tools. So there's a lot of people watching this project come off the ground. Frankly, they're waiting for us to finish a few things and educate them better on what we're doing and all that. But that's part of the startup. You don't get to do this overnight. So we're doing a lot of pioneering here. So how can you make it a business opportunity? We talked about it a little bit. But ultimately, what we want to do is create jobs and make opportunity for entrepreneurs. It's what we did with our previous business, Wood-Mizer, very successful with that. We're modeling this business after it. We'll get into that a little more later. These days, you hear about carbon sequestration. When you take a wood chip like this and you burn it and turn it into a bit of charcoal, I'm not going to open it because you'll see a video here in a second. What we've done is burn off all the usable pieces of it, and what's left is the carbon shell. It's just a honeycombed bit of carbon left over. It's important to know that that biochar, is what we call it, is so porous that 1 gram of it is equivalent to 500 square feet of surface area. It's pure carbon. It doesn't get any better when it comes to sequestering carbon. And everybody else is talking about all these green things that I don't understand. To me, it doesn't mean anything. But this one, you literally grab a biomass, take the useful heat off of it in equipment like this, and then the byproduct is sequestered carbon. When you put that in the ground, it's going to be there, we think, for 1,000 years or more. We don't know. It's carbon. It doesn't break down. It's a base unit. In this configuration that we make it, it ends up being a great soil amendment because it helps break up the soil. It is so much like honeycomb, it holds lots of water and never breaks down. So your soil just all of a sudden, when you add a little bit of organic matter to it, becomes this perfect. The other ways that we're using the equipment is obviously recycling. We want to fix the soil so we can grow healthy soil or food. We talked about the life support thing a little bit ago. Our goal through all of this is to give people the tools to recreate or rebuild our soil and make it healthy again. Without microbial activity and fungus and things like that in the soil, the worms won't be there, they won't have little castings, it just won't be good soil, it won't grow things well. And that's what we're trying to accomplish with all this project. Education is going to be huge, and I know that's where Heath's heart is, to educate people on all of this. So we're trying to give people like him tools to be able to do that. We'll make videos for it, we'll make documentation. We'll get back to what he's doing here in a little bit. But ultimately it needs to go to our kids, get it in the schools. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So back to Louis and biochar and what's made us travel this road we're on. We showed, or I explained a little bit about biochar. Let's jump into, restart the video there, and it'll take us into a little shot showing biochar coming out of the machine. We make about 10 gallons an hour with this equipment. But you probably know biochar. If you go on to the internet and look for it, you're going to find just a plethora of information about people wanting to know more about it. There's international programs on it, on how to use it and what it's good for. If you go to eBay or Amazon.com, you're going to see it selling for anywhere from $10 to $30 a gallon, especially in that form right there. It's what we call a perfect form. Lots and lots of people trying to figure out how to make it, sell it, use it, because the results after using it speak for themselves. It's good for you, it's good for the soil, it's good for microbial stuff. It's a permanent fix to your soil. Once you've done this, you don't do it again. So of course then the agricultural people, big guys, are saying, well, how can I get enough of it? Well, we can't yet. There's really no good ways to make it. Turns out we actually have one of the best processors here to make a steady stream of biochar than anybody. The next step is guys making little drum retorts and having to grind it, and it's a total mess. Or you get the really big guys that are making auxiliary power, and they end up with train car loads of it in a form that isn't friendly to gardening, and then they've got to figure out where to sell it and whatever. So that's where we are. So we're making a really good version of it in the high margin section to a market that will pay more for it, because they're not doing thousands of acres, they're doing little plots or a garden where it's actually affordable and makes sense to fix their soil so they can have good gardens for the rest of their lifetime. So that's where we're going. So with all that, it kind of led us into gardening, which I had never done before. And honestly, I had a lot of learning to do. Ruined some things, bought other people's products to check out, which led us to fixing our own soils, and man, was it an eye-opener. So that led us to what is perfect soil. I guess I thought I had a video on this, but maybe not. Perfect soil is antiseptic. Oh, this is uses of biochar. I guess we probably need to go through that. Yeah, what can you do with it? I'm not going to bore you with all of them. Go ahead to the next screen after that. If you've read it, you'll start to get a feel for how versatile biochar is. It is one canisters there is. It is the best one. When you see people with these canisters, that's what's in there. It's going to roll back to the last one with the yellow highlights here again in a second. We'll stay there for a second. Okay, let's stop there. Active carbon filters, like I say, the masks, things like that. Of course, the soil substrate for organic plant beds, that's one of the biggest things we're doing. But this last one, again, is back to filtering. We also make a machine called the bioliquidator, where we melt animal carcasses into liquid that then can be used as a fertilizer or dumped down the drain, either one. It's actually good for going into our sewage system because it helps break down the sewage. The animal liquidator machines have an odor because we're boiling it, okay? That's part of what makes it break down quickly. Well, we seal it up and we deliberately let a little leakage so we can put a negative pressure on it and then blow that air out into the atmosphere. But you're in the wrong spot, wrong time, you're catching that, and that's happening. These guys are buying machines in big cities to let the vets bring their dead animals to them. They will melt them, they'll even put them in individual baskets where they'll save the remains, they'll dry them, grind them, and have funeral services. People are making a killing off of this stuff. I've heard of up to $8,000 a day in some cases where they're processing these animals and then distributing the remains and having these services. Well, odor's a problem. So we are in the process right now of developing an odor eating system for these machines, but the key ingredient, biochar. And because we make it, that's one more marketable product for me on that side of things. So I can very easily see me setting up more burners to do nothing more than make biochar, because it looks like it's going to be that marketable. And the margins are great. Let's go on to the next. Is there another slide here or video? There we go. Let's stop there. So, back to our perfect soil. Or does anybody have any questions so far? Okay.
I see your biggest problem is a source for this material you want to process.
That's correct. We'll address that. Anybody else?
I have used this like 1 year in my garden, and I just have planter boxes, you know, in the yard.
The chicken manure you mean, or biochar?
Biochar.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, it was okay, it was good, we had a good year, but I understood when I got it that, like you said, you don't have to, put it in there again, that it's in there, once it's in there, it's in there. And I also have in my mind, is this true that they said the second year
We'll cover
will be
that.
better?
We'll cover that.
Okay, all right,
Yeah, because I had some problems with mine,
okay.
which was part of my learning process.
How much biochar do you need that new, beautiful,
When I make a potting mix like this, I put 10% by volume.
yeah, how much of greenhouse that you have? Like say you had a greenhouse and you're setting that up and you automatically assume you're gonna put that all in that greenhouse.
When I show you another video here in a minute, I was putting on 1 cubic foot per 100 square feet. That's about 7.5 gallons per 100 square feet.
Okay.
That's what I used. Now we're going to get to the crux of the matter that's going to address all these things.
You talked about getting rid of the moisture and stuff, or the smell coming out your smog deal, or your smoke detector, or what you want to call it. Are you using a electrostatic precipitator, or what are you using?
On my drying system or the animal liquidator?
Where you're trying to get rid of the smell?
On the animal liquidators, it's just the biochar. It is so porous and adsorbent with a D. One of its primary features is it eats odor. And it has a defined lifetime. You can't do it forever, but once all those cells adsorb the odor from the molecules that have the odor in it, it's used up, and then you can turn around and put it in the soil and do whatever you want with it. But
You wouldn't have near the maintenance that you would with the precipitator.
that's right.
Right.
You just like changing the filters and so on?
In our case, we're going to set it up where it'll be a 5-gallon bucket. You literally do it, so that's a really big filter. You can buy them with inline charcoal filters. You can buy all sorts of them out there, and they're making their money on the replaceable cartridges. It's it's mesh, wire mesh, and stainless steel ends with threads and all that stuff, we're just gonna send it through a bucket that you can dump out and pour any batch in. But biochar is the best form of odor collection there is. And it's, for us, it's very simple.
Quick question on that then. When your biochar is full and no longer usable as a filter, can you then recycle that to go into soil and have it be used that way?
In theory, you'd actually added some nutrients possibly by doing that, yes. It's also a great soil remediation. It gathers the poisons out of the soil. They use it in ditches to catch things. But again, the adsorbent nature of biochar is its strong point. It collects and grabs everything.
So do you have a sensor that tells them when to change it? Yeah.
When you smell it, too.
My question is, I have horses, and of course during this time of the year, it's got awful in the stalls and the barn and stuff. So if you mix the biochar with the sawdust that you have, what kind of lifespan, would that help with the odors and the ammonia that you have in the stalls?
Yep.
So
Probably not your most economic way to do that.
Yeah, but you know, sometimes some of that economics is about living through
Okay.
it.
Yes, it would help. You're better off just changing it though, because moisture is the killer of biochar. For instance, in this device I have to make for our liquidating machines, I have to actually condense the steam out first. So we're throwing dry air through the biochar to make it last longer.
Okay. So I've got the rubber mat floors, and so I'm thinking mix it all together and put it on there.
For instance, well, we can rebag these. Here's an example. I'll send it around to anybody that wants to do this. This particular batch is what we call turbo. Okay, this is biochar with chicken manure tea in it. Can you smell it?
What'd you call it, turbo what?
I'm afraid.
No,
Just
go ahead.
hesitation.
Be brave. Then you can pass it around.
Okay, I'm liking that. It's not bad.
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
There's nothing there. That's the adsorbent nature of biochar. That has chicken poop mixed with water, and we've soaked it, completely soaked it, and you can't smell it.
And so an animal eats that, it's not gonna kill them.
It's actually, thank you, it's actually good for them
Oh, I like that even more.
because it helps clear their gut. When you go to the hospital after being poisoned, you know what they give you? Coal. It's biochar because it's adsorbent. It grabs the poisons and sequesters it in its honeycomb structure, and then it passes through. They're putting it in where they can afford it, or where they've done experiments. They put it in the litter in chicken houses for the same reason. It helps knock down the odor and keep it drier. Found out that that's one of the biggest things for chicken farmers these days is protecting the bird's feet. I didn't know that. Maybe you guys do, but the feet are actually a very remarkable product, but it's also a sign of the health of the birdhouse. And biochar helps fix that problem. It balances the pH, it takes the moisture out, it does a whole bunch of good things for the birds as well. I mean, this list of 50 that I threw up there is just scratching the surface from some of the other lists I've seen.
Yes, everybody's saying that.
Yeah. And then here's the other one. I'll send these back around so you can tell. This is just plain biochar. This is the stuff where the teeth feel the weight difference.
Oh.
Yeah, don't throw it. Yeah. Biochar is extremely light, the honeycomb nature. I can take a jug of this biochar and one of these of water and pour it in there, and I'll only go up in volume by about an 1/8 inch. That's how much that stuff holds. So, it not only holds water, it holds anything. So, it's kind of a miracle product. Yes, sir.
You mentioned that moisture kills biochar.
From an odor eating
Oh,
standpoint.
okay, sorry.
Just from an odor eating. Because it gets in and fills up the adsorbing nature of it.
So you could also hang it. I noticed this past year, a lot of the tax stores and stuff like that were carrying charcoal in like little burlap bags, putting in horse trailers and different places.
It's the same thing.
Having odor and stuff, so you can actually get that in larger pieces, put it in your barn.
That's one of the things we will do. You could, in theory, you know how you can take a filter 20 by 20? If we could put a layer of that over a filter and have a fan blow across it, that would be a great filter. Greenhouses, the list goes on forever from a filtration standpoint. The question is, where do you get it in volumes that are affordable? Today, if you can go out and try to find it, you're going to buy a canister that is extremely expensive. It doesn't have that much char in it. You're spending the money on the canister and not the char.
And how much is your canister?
I don't make a canister yet. I make the char.
Yeah, the big gallon thing.
What is it, $10 a gallon right now is the retail price. And I don't know where we're going with that, but that, we're just stuck there because that's what the market's doing. The stuff with the tea in it, we're selling for 16.
Okay.
Because it's pre-inoculated, and I'll get into that in a minute, but okay. Yeah, we won't send those around, you don't want to smell those. The, back to the perfect soil. If you really want to make a good garden, don't you have to have something your plants want to grow in? Well, who knows how to fix that? I mean, who does fix that? Most of the people I know go dig up a piece of garden and, yeah, I've got some fertilizer in the mini barn, I'll throw some of that on there and we'll just take a shot at it. We don't know. My parents don't know. My dad's actually from a farming family in North Dakota. He didn't know. I'm finding out that people that farm my property who work for me on the side, they don't know. They go to the extension office and they tell them what to put on there. On life support. They aren't telling them how to make their land healthy. They're just saying this will grow corn or this will grow beans this year. So, back to perfect soil, it has to be antiseptic, and meaning you got to get all the bad stuff out of it. All right, so how do you do that? It needs to be free from unwanted seeds. That's why people don't use horse manure primarily, because of the seeds left over from all the grasses. It needs to be airy and soft, but wouldn't you just love to be able to do this to your soil and dig around? Well, you can, but people aren't right now because there's not enough organic material in it. You have to have good water retention, enter biochar. Good drainage as well, which is biochar because it keeps the soil broken up. It needs to be full of nutrients, chicken manure or some other organic material. It needs to be earthy and good smelling, because if you got one that's stale or mildewed or whatever, there's something wrong with it. It needs to be full of life, meaning there needs to be microbial activity and fungus and make it a happy place for the worms, so to speak. Otherwise it's not alive and it will not grow plants well. And what the biggest thing I found, and it just floors me that the general public doesn't understand the need for correct soil pH. Well, you tell me pH, I almost flunked chemistry in high school. I don't know what it is or didn't know. And I didn't understand the importance of it. And I'm finding almost nobody does. So now we enter the education phase of all this, and why people like Keith, that I'm going to ask to say a few things here in a minute, are getting into. If you don't understand your soil, and if it isn't right, you will not be able to grow anything well. Okay?
What pH are you looking for?
Depends on the plant.
Okay.
That's the best, that's the $1 million question right there. What soil pH are you looking for? Well, first off, you got to know what your soil pH is. And that takes extraordinary measures to do, so most people don't do it. I can tell you, don't buy those little strips and kits from Lowe's and whatever, they don't work. Okay? The extension office is there for everybody to use. They'll tell you how to dig it up and bring the sample bags in. They'll come back and tell you what your pH is. So at least you'll have a starting place. You could do like I'm doing, and I went out and researched the internet and found an ion tester. Okay? This one is called Echo Tester, spelled T-E-S-T-R, pH 2. And I go to Cole Parmer to buy it, coleparmer.com. And then they sell you the buffering agents for calibration and everything as well. You're going to spend about $80 for the kit, right? And then you can do your own pH testing of your soil before, after, in between, whatever. So again, we played with all the different chemical kits that you can buy and absolutely just wasted my money and time. This has proven to match with the extension office results. And you do the reviews on it, you're finding that the professionals that are going in the field that have the expensive kits are saying this works just as well. So that's the big thing. You can't measure pH outside of an aqueous solution well at all. Well, you can't. Does anybody know what pH stands for? I didn't.
It's just bad enough.
Blank stares.
Not right.
Yeah. Okay. And what you're doing is measuring hydrogen ions in that liquid, and it will tell you what the pH of whatever sample it is you're working with. Plants generally like to be between 6 and 7 on pH. Tomatoes like 6.5 to 6.8. You get into blueberries, you're going to want to be around 4.5 to 5. You want to get into potatoes, it's around 6. Look it up on the internet. Best pH for fill in the blank, and it'll tell you what it should be. But you're going to find about 95% of all plants like to grow between 6 and 7. They will grow between 6 and 7. So part of our program here is we're making a soil that is 6 to 7. Let's go to the next one. All right, let's stop there for a second. What is it? Why is it important? It stands for potential hydrogen. That's what we're measuring. A scale of 1 to 14. 7 is the middle. That's neutral. And most plants want to grow between 6 and 7. Let's see what we have next. The exponential nature of that scale is important because if you're at 7 and you go to 6, that's scale 10. If you go down to 5 from 7, that's 100 times more acidic, 1,000 times more acidic when you go to 4. So what appears to be a small change in numbers is really a huge difference in how your plants are going to perform. So you need to target this pretty close. So next. What time is it?
You had Sean.
Oh, we got live. Okay. 15 minutes. There you go. Here's our answer to it. We sterilize it using our equipment. Back up if you can, a little bit on the video. You can get to that last screen. We sterilize it with our system. We kill the seeds with our system. We size the product with our system. A little bit more. There you go. Yeah, you have to hit pause. We add turbochar to it. That's our pre-inoculated version of the turbocharge. When you put it in, turbochar, when you make it, is a pH of about 9 to 10. That will kill your garden right now. And that you're going to spend your time trying to bring your soil balance back down. We'll get into that here in a second. That's what happened to me. If you don't put it in at the right pH, yeah, you're killing yourself. So we add turbochar to enhance drainage characteristics, the right amount of organic fertilizers. We add mycorrhizae. If anybody hasn't heard that term, that's really one of the biggest keys to making your garden grow well. Is it's basically microbes in a box. It looks like powder, like cement powder. You add it in, you put it in your soil. When the plants germinate, the roots touch this stuff. Symbiotically, they take off and do their thing to make the roots grow well. And then the key is, take these in the right mixture, right percentage ratio, and I can make any kind of soil you want. You want 6 to 7 for tomatoes, 3 parts this, 2 parts that, and you end up with a mix that is targeted for what you want to grow. So we can amend the garden based on that. If your soil is low, we put a little bit more biochar in because that will lift the pH. If it's high, we put a little more pine bark organic material in to pull it down because pine bark's 4.5. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to fill in for you. I'm going to drop in. He came to me saying he's got a vision of going to people to help them figure out what their garden needs to be, to help them do the soil, to help them actually put the garden in, to till it in, to balance the pH, educate them on how to grow food, and offer that as a service. Okay? There's a lot of people out there who don't have tillers and everything else, but they grew up gardening and they want to get back to it, they can't. So I think it's a fantastic idea he's got, where as an entrepreneur, when he ties up with somebody like me that can get him the resources, he's got great opportunity to go chase that in a small town like ours. You got your organic people, the CSAs, whatever. Jump into, let that roll now real quick, and then we're going to roll right into a garden comparison, and then we're going to wrap up. This is the raised garden, or the raised bed project that we're working on. components of a raised bed, hardware, and whatnot. I'll let that keep rolling. Where you can put together a larger version of what I have here. It'll be 2 foot by 4 foot, okay? Shafts, put it together. The whole thing only weighs 25 pounds or something like that. That is the hammock that we actually hang the dirt in. So there's, get it right? You know, if you can see it, there's 3 loops like this in this fabric. We take 3 rods and suspend them between wall plates and end up with a hammock to put the soil in. Extremely low weight, low cost way of making a place to hold. It drains, it'll last for years. It's the kind of material we use under our gardens and all right now. So that's what this is. There's a cloth hammock under here, full of dirt with a plant in it, like that. We make a high version of it, a low version of it. Then we make a version where you can attach them end for end. We have light boxes, so you can grow stuff in your garage or your basement or whatever. It can be rolled out in the spring when you're ready to go. So everything I've been growing has been inside in light boxes in my green, in these units like that.
And here's the
This is
prototype.
me showing my daughter how this project.
Yeah, 1 end plate, a middle plate, and the far plate. All 3 of those are identical. You'll see on the end here, there's spots for either the high or the low. In this case, we're set up for short gardening. And then the 2 side bolts. So there's a short cloth. Here's your deep cloth.
Imagine growing potatoes.
The side panels are removable.
Anything else in there where you can start.
You don't want
Just
to
keep
the
adding
cost or the
tomatoes.
weight. You can remove those, and then there's a black curtain in behind there. Of course, those are billboard space for us. Then there's the option package. There's going to be a set of rollers, wheels that can be put and snapped in place on the end. I don't have it, obviously. So you can pick this up and move it. We're going to put in a arch right here, either with fiberglass rod, something where you can put on a shade cloth, you can put on a greenhouse. We can put a little vent kit, auto vent kit on the ends. If you want to roll these into your house or garage, we can put on a light kit like those over there. And it seemed like Tim was saying for the nicer areas where people want to show off their plants, you could have LED light switches or ropes up sides that change colors and do all that. They aren't that expensive. So a whole bunch of options. It can be your plant starts, your full grow, greenhouse, a whole bunch of stuff all at once. We talked about maybe as possibly multiples long, but right now we're saying, man, it'd be kind of tough to change the center cloth. So I'm recommending we just do 2 at a time and then stack them. If you wanted to go 3, you just have to know that if you ever tore the middle one, it would be a little tricky to get to. So there we are. Well, real quick, take a look at things here. They're going great. Germination of this stuff, strawberries from seed. This is great. These guys are going nuts. I got to get them out of here. So I'm trying to get this set up over here so I can transplant.
Question. Have you thought about insulating them before you have a cold frame?
It'd be very easy to do, but we have not done that. We wouldn't be able to totally insulate the top surface. The bottom would be real easy. Here's some light kits. I started in December. There we use the reflected to hold the light in at night, optimize it. Show that because we're growing green beans inside in the winter, which has been pretty interesting. That's a recovering orchid. Dogs ate it, no roots left, everything was rotted. We're using a biochar mix for the orchids. They love it. There's a greenhouse version with lights. There's zucchini and squash. I don't know if I'll be able to make them hold off long enough to get them in the ground. They've been flowering for over a month. Notice those 2 on the left are puny. The cat has been getting in there, or was for a while, And that was his favorite corner. And I measured the pH in there last night compared to just over a few inches. 6.5 right where I want it. Where the healthy plants are, it was almost 9 where it's been pink. So that's why the plants are yellow. There's one of our recovering orchids. It's interesting to me because it's throwing off 5 new roots, a flower stem, and a new leaf all at the same time from a plant that was all but dead. But we're using biochar and chicken tea. So that's where we are on the project. The greenhouse version will have auto vent fans on there, things like that. That's the end of that. Let's go to the garden comparison if you can get there, and then we'll be wrapping up.
What's the cost of that unit?
We don't know yet for sure.
Ballpark?
$150 for a 4-foot. Yes. They're on the high side. And then you can start optioning out with lights and greenhouses and all that kind of stuff. But the base unit really is just 2 end walls, 2 caps, 3 pipes, and a cloth.
Where's your water going once the drainage is applied?
Just through onto the ground. This has got a screen underneath it. Here we're showing the garden that I did last year. We'll just let it roll. I'll talk.
This is,
You can turn on the volume. This is our test garden last year. We had 6 plots. 1, 2, 3, and another 3 over here. This side had biochar on it. This side did not. So this block is biochar only. The next one is biochar with chicken manure, no, horse manure. The next block was biochar and chicken manure. Then on the other side, it was mirrored. We mirrored the plants, we mirrored everything. So I know it's not official tests and no blind studies and all that, but we did get a great indication. This is going to go through time lapse here in a sec. And what you're going to see is the biochar side lagged significantly. It was horrible in the beginning. And that was before I understood pH. All that horse manure is pH of 8. Okay, and then I threw in biochar at 9 to 10 on top of that. So my whole side of that garden was, I jacked it with high pH, and I didn't know that in the beginning. The other side, the pH of the soil was actually pretty good as is. And then I put in the horse manure in the middle, and that particular section didn't do as well either because of the high pH. The chicken manure is good because it's around 6.5. So it actually works really well, and that's why farmers like it. It's right, pH-wise, right on the money. Again, I didn't know any of this stuff in the beginning. Started figuring it out and learned that if you'll throw nitrogen on high pH soil, it will pull the pH down. There's a chemical reaction that happens. So we started using chicken tea partway through the process on the side that was bad, and then all of a sudden our biochar side kicked in. And at the end of the season, I was getting almost 2-to-1 production off the biochar side than I was the other side. Okay, so here you're going to see the time lapse, and watch on the right side the comparison of quality of plants and size of plants.
How often is your picture?
Don't remember if it was every day for a while. Yeah, it was pretty much every day for a while there. We didn't get planted it until June. Everything was really late. Okay, now you'll start seeing the difference on the sides. Look at the tomato plants in particular. Over here. Here, this is just the plain dirt. This was the horse where the pH got balanced, out of balance, and then there's the chicken on the backside. So, all about pH. These start looking sickly, that's looking healthy. And then it's going to roll into some comparisons. We might want to roll the video forward a little bit. To get toward the end, we'll see some actual, but see the difference more and more? That's what people complain about biochar. It's not working right well. When you take the biochar and pre-inoculate it, you mix it with the manure and mycorrhizae, you put it in the ground, it's ready to produce something. So we take our biochar, we wash it to get the ash out. That's the high pH side. We bring it down to in the 7 range. Then we put the tea in it to pre-inoculate it and give it the nutrients and keep it from adsorbing other nutrients from the ground and keeping the pH right. All right, you're going to see some pictures in the back of an RTV coming up. It does. I don't know what to do with it because I don't need it. It's just water I dump on the driveway with, along with the lime rock right now. Okay, here's a comparison. The stuff on the right side of the back there TV came off the biochar side. And then it'll pan over to the other side. You're going to see about half the production. And the quality of the stuff coming off of the biochar side was better too. The beans, the bean plants, they just kept giving. I kept being amazed every time we go out there and keep picking. And everything was good.
Is it cost effective to use it like on pastures and stuff like that at all?
Not yet.
Top dressing?
Not yet. It's cost too much.
Okay. What about the
That's
small
what the
lots?
industry's trying to figure out. How do we get from where we are to being able to make it commercial? For now, we're just going to take advantage of doing it on a small scale. We're going to do it as garden soil amendment through services like Keith over here. We're going to take care of other opportunities like garden consulting, raised bed gardens where you want to just control your own environment, senior citizen centers. What do those people have to do all day? Not much. Most of them were gardeners. Can we get them projects in there with a nice raised garden, with the lights, with the greenhouse? Maybe we get into sponsorship programs putting them in. Maybe there's a tax incentive for it in the long run. But they'll put my greenhouse in, they'll probably do that. Get it in the schools, teach them. The CSAs can get involved in helping to educate people on what to do. My daughter is passionate about an urban program. I'm going to let her come back and follow up on that. Window boxes. You start taking those thousands and tens of thousands of windows in New York City, you put one plant in each, and then start sharing those people. And through a program that can be organized, that's huge.
I see nursing homes.
I think it's a huge one.
You know, because you got the ambulatory in nursing homes.
Wheelchairs and these raised beds.
Assisted living.
Yeah, perfect height where they can just roll up and do what they want to do. You've got the jails. Like I say, our jails already do it. People like me should be helping them figure out how to grow. They don't know what they're doing. They're not educated. Where do you get the education? It isn't out there. Of course, there's the EQUIP program, and I think personally, there's going to be tax incentives for this sort of thing eventually.
Didn't Jack and Judy have some of these last year?
This is it. We've just begun.
Okay, because
They
he had something like that.
They have raised beds on the ground.
Right.
And that's common technology, but people are just putting dirt in them.
What,
Once
but
in the dirt.
did he not have the biochar?
Yeah, we've done a little bit with him, but not a lot, because we really didn't figure this out until during the winter.
Okay.
And so we didn't get an opportunity to do a whole lot of
Because he
that.
had some great looking plants, great looking plants. And
So to wrap this thing up, because I know I'm out of time, we believe we can use technology to create jobs by processing locally available resources into marketable products. We also believe we can equip people with the education and the tools needed to grow healthy foods at levels that put quality back in the hands of the people. We're building a foundation to organize our customers into a network of organic soil and soil amendment providers around the world. And that's how this happens. You build a system like this, and I can produce for a lot of different people. And then you put another one in, another one, and another one in. Just like we did with our sawmills. You start with one, no big deal. Start out, end up with 50,000 of them 30 years later. You're the biggest producer of lumber in the world, like our previous company did. Well, the same thing model here. You start putting these in and incentivizing people to put them in, networking them together through a program called Turbo Organics. You know, I get them on my website. I start telling people, well, this guy in New York's got it, or Pennsylvania. You can buy your soil amendments from them and do this locally, systemically. You can make a big happening around the world. So, from moving the elephant to creating jobs and entertainment for things like the senior citizens, and providing food for thousands of people. You know, it sounds like a crazy ordeal to begin with, but we don't think so. We think it's very possible, and here we are. You guys are watching with us grow this. We're wide open to suggestions and help from people if you've got other suggestions. We know it's a bold vision, but here we go. So with that, I'm done. It is 8:30 on the dot, and if you've got questions, if there's time, I'll be happy to stick around and answer.
Is that her name that does the, what is it called? Hopkins County Assistance. Yeah, the Assistance Center. She spoke at Rotary a couple weeks ago, and they are trying to equip people, you know, that live in apartments or whatever, that don't have enough food with just container gardens, like pickle buckets, you know, go out and here's some tomatoes for you to grow for your own
That's what this is for.
family. So this would be, yeah, I was just thinking.
This is a window version of
This
they
would be
made in two
awesome.
sizes, and then the other standard box is 2x4.
Mhm. You know, they're
With
looking
two
for
different
something that they
soil
can
banks.
give to people who, you know.
Well, this is it. And then those that are a little more advanced, like I say, you get into the lights, the greenhouse, the seed starters, you name it. It's a great way to just work your way around up.
I'm thinking you should sell these over to Denver, Colorado.
I'm sure it'll go wherever.
Eventually, I think it would work here.
Well, I mean, they have,
We
I
should
watched a
probably get
special
some.
on that, and they have all their plants are indoors, because they're gardening puppies like in gold, because of about what it's worth.
Yeah.
You know, so that'd be a good opportunity.
We were
for them.
joking, what's gonna happen is this is the perfect marijuana grow.
That's what I'm
That's what we
talking
were saying, we were
about.
saying that in code.
Okay, yeah.
Denver, Colorado,
I'm a little slow.
They're promoting that now. I want to thank everybody for coming in. Dee's Turkey is coming next week, and please stay and ask them more questions. But we want to make sure that those that you need to leave can leave.
Yep.